The garden rescue team are on a mission.
Look at that!
To create beautiful green spaces in family homes.
What do you think? I think that's super cool.
And make people's garden dreams come true.
Fab!
Charlie Dimmock
Pushes the boundaries out.
the much-loved queen of the family garden.
What can go wrong?
The Rich Brothers,
Good luck, boyo.
creators of classy, trend-setting outdoor spaces.
It's such a nice pop of colour, isn't it?
And Arit Anderson,
That's brilliant!
an award-winning designer with a distinctive sense of style.
A lot of these plants are quite easy to maintain.
They're here to answer garden emergencies
There is a lot to be done.
based on the client's needs and budget.
So I think it's definitely challenging.
2 sets of plans.
Wow.
Designers create and pitch, but only one can win. Ooh. Garden
Shazza!
and the loser has to help them build it.
Oh, look at that!
This is what happens when 2 different styles collide
What's not to love?
to turn garden dreams into reality.
Oh, Charlie, I love you!
That's a bit better, isn't it?
Today, the Rich Brothers and Arit are on call to design a garden with a Bavarian theme.
So here we have Scott and Lisa.
Okay, yeah.
They're only happy because these guys got married last year.
Oh,
Still nice and
bless.
fresh, and this is actually going to be their first garden together. Isn't that wonderful?
We worked together for a translation company and used to go for a drink on a Friday evening and not go.
Yeah, that's how we met on a train ride home after the pub, actually.
How much do you think of that?
A little bit
Okay, here it is.
blank and a mishmash.
Look at that.
It's tired. It's tired.
It does look a bit tired, a bit worn. It's like the old foundation to a path there, doesn't it?
I think it seemed better days.
When we first moved in, the garden was a jungle. Like the last quarter of the garden we couldn't actually go to, and we also uncovered lots of concrete paths running through it, and we didn't really know what to do with it. And it looks really tired and old.
Lisa is originally from Munich, so Bavaria.
Ah, Bavarian.
Yeah, so she loved the idea of having this slight Oktoberfest theme to the garden.
Oh, there are just a couple of beer tents and fairy lights.
Picnic benches, and
Yeah.
you can get out of there. We're
Yeah.
fine.
Bartender, 1 shandy here, please.
Steady, you two.
Joking aside, Harry's pretty much hit the nail on the head.
What I think I miss most is like the togetherness in the beer gardens where you just bring your own food and get a drink and meet with friends and family.
Annually in Munich, with over 6 million people from around the world. Fest is a beer festival held and coming together for a big party.
Well, like the beer garden culture as well, the idea that you sort of turn up and bring your own food and everybody kind of shares tables. It's quite sort of communal.
So they love the idea of having a space which feels almost slightly busier than a private garden in a way, I suppose. Like a couple of seating spaces, somewhere under shelter, somewhere that they can wander out and enjoy and have a drink. But anywhere really that reminds her of her homeland.
I think I would like to see some alpines and some like trees that are native to Germany as well, and maybe some hops for the beer.
But the question to get that is how much?
So the budget is £3,000. So I think it's definitely challenging,
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
but £3,000 will definitely be able to do something with it.
The couple have big festival dreams on a limited budget, so the designers head to Chesham
Wow.
Oh,
in Buckinghamshire for inspiration.
Very informal.
on the road to nowhere.
Look at this.
We're here.
Oh.
This little path, a bit strange, isn't it?
Yeah, nice having the path. They kind of lead to nowhere, and
Yeah.
the concrete looks a little bit tired.
It's not talking Bavaria to me at the moment. I'm not feeling the Oktoberfest moment.
No. There are loads of plants in it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Got plenty of roses. Lovely rose there. That's a beautiful one. Peonies. We've got some lovely tulips.
It has got mature trees around the outside
Yeah.
as well. At least they've got a bit of a backdrop.
It is. And that is the area that I'll probably want to use the most. That's what gets the most sun, isn't it?
Yeah.
But to me, it looks a bit like a pint half empty at the moment.
Yeah, agree.
I'm more
Agree.
of a half full kind of guy.
More of a half pint kind of guy.
Come on.
I just asked that.
Come on, you two.
Right, come on in, half pint. Go
Go
see
on,
if we can
here
find
you
some
go.
vegetarian in the house.
All right, full pint. That'll be my nickname from now on. Shoes off here, nice white carpet.
That's a very
Black and white.
It's quite orderly, isn't it? White carpet, isn't
Yeah.
it? And it's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like simple, bold colours.
You like linear lines in here, and especially that.
While the brothers explore further, Arit's sitting down with the couple, and her first question has to be, what's unique about Bavarian gardens?
So just give me a little bit more about the details which would actually really make it feel like it was from home.
Maybe like a small maypole.
Maypole?
In Bavaria, we have them typically like colored in blue and white, and they're quite tall, and every May we're gonna put them up. But it would be quite nice to have something smaller structure like that for the birds to perch on.
And make it something that the birds can come and...
Yeah.
Okay.
Walk of that. You don't get much more Oktoberfest than mugs.
Then Oktoberfest mugs. That is plain and simple, isn't it? Wonderful. Well, that's such an important part of the garden, isn't it? It's that social, party, festival character that we need to put out there. Right, so I think with the blue and white being the colours of Bavaria, at least obviously it'd be wonderful to get that in the garden.
Nice.
Scott, what are you looking for?
Well, we get the odd hedgehog and well, I sort of like watching frogs occasionally, so nature out of the window, kind of birds. And,
Cue the bee.
yeah, that's very good.
But with the greenhouse that we've got there, what's going on? Doesn't seem to be much life going in there.
Well, it's looking a bit sorry for itself at the moment. We do sort of aspire to growing vegetables.
Aspiration is not a bad thing. So if we could bring you some planting areas, then you all know that greenhouse is going to get used. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good plan.
Look, it's a cuckoo clock. It's so German, isn't it? Cuckoo. Oh, that's good enough.
Is that what you wanted?
Well, I think the garden definitely needs to have wildlife in it.
I think having an area that's very usable, has a nice form and structure to it, I think that is key as well.
Don't forget about the soft edges as well. I think it wasn't too clean and clean, was it?
No.
So it seems as if, you know, that you want to get a bit more cohesion within this garden, making sure that this part of the garden is really utilised and make sure the best feel. Scott, for you, you can bring all of your friends and family in, but looking for more wildlife to come into the garden. It's got to have that Bavarian twist, that Oktoberfest. So we've got to make sure that we've got a nature-based garden for you to encourage more birds and hedgehogs, which is great. And then that greenhouse needs to see some life as well. So we need to get some plants in there, certainly some veg as well. So I hope you're ready with them green fingers that are going to come your way. Excellent.
Great, thank you.
Having shared all the information they've learnt, Arit and the Rich brothers start work to design their own Bavarian-inspired garden. Each of them will come up with a plan for Lisa and Scott that works within their budget. The couple will then choose a winner, and whoever loses will help the winner build the garden. The £3,000 budget will be spent on materials, while Arit and the Rich brothers, along with their team of landscapers, provide the labour for free. Back in Chesham, it's time for
Here's the moment.
the pitch.
The truth. How much is Hello. Delivered your design for you, and here it is.
Okay, so this design, we basically split the garden into two areas. This area here that you can see, which would be that side of the garden, it's very much the working part of the garden. It's the eating, it's the dining, it's active space. It's really usable. So this is going to be a self-binding gravel, really level, and it links all the spaces. And then this side of the garden, over here, we want to leave this grow quite wild and natural. Introduce lots of shrubs, some nice wildflower meadow, things that are going to encourage the wildlife.
So, the brothers' design is a garden of two halves, with a formal and a wild side. But what has Arit come up with?
The inspiration for this was I had to take myself to Bavaria, but what I did was give myself a journey. I'm up in the mountains, I'm looking down over the town, and as you come down, you're sort of seeing all those lovely wooden Chesham in Bavaria, and then all alleys. But we're now in the lowland, so try and get you some smaller alpines, if you like, where the meadowlands are. Pines in there, so there's some little reminders as well of home. That's great.
They're both bringing the alpine landscape to their designs. But what about the important, entertaining space that reminds Lisa of home?
This whole idea of the Oktoberfest is about gatherings, it's about people coming together, eating together, having some drinks. So you go into the back of the garden, we've given you a wooden pergola here, with a nice table underneath so that you guys can have meals outside, you can sit with all the friends around. And Scott, maybe, you can grow some hops up here so you can get making your own beer and you can hold your own festival here. You'll be providing for the whole village, won't you?
The hops and pergola have gone down well, and the Rich brothers have remembered the sunny spot is at the back of the garden. But it seems Arit is on the same wavelength.
Now, this is going to be an actual timber structure. So really feeling as if you're in the Tenerife feel, but you're going to have the sense of town now. But because it's nice and open, being kind of in Bavaria and in London, it'll still kind of give you that light underneath here. You can see you'll have your beer table, your beer bench, but also these beer kegs that are planters.
That's really lovely, yeah.
That are going to be planters.
That's really lovely, yeah.
They look impressed with the Oktoberfest elements, but how are the designers planning to tempt Scott's beloved birds?
At the moment, the garden is very open. You've got trees and shrubs on the outside, but that doesn't really encourage birds into the garden itself. So the idea is that we've just spotted some lovely shrubs throughout the garden, drawing it up so close to the window so that you can be inside on a rainy day but still have the birds coming into the garden.
It gives the idea of this kind of small forest. We've put in this small wildlife pond as well. Not only is it going to look nice, it's going to encourage a lot more insects, and in turn that's going to encourage the birds as well.
They seem to be flying high, but Arit may just overtake them with her solution.
This is a wild meadow turf that's going to have lots of perennial, can't bring you a lake, but I can plants in it and different grasses, bring you a wild pond, and that's good. But the real key thing is I can really play to having the frogs come into the garden, which again really creates more wildlife coming in.
It looks like they're level pegging, but there's one final thing. The couple aspire to grow their own veg, but need a helping hand.
We also talked about, wanting somewhere for you to still grow vegetables. So keeping the vegetable patches here so that you can make maximum use out of your greenhouse. That's going to hopefully really transport you back to Bavaria, let you get your beers on the go, while you watch your vegetables growing. Okay.
But the brothers have raised her one veg bed and added another 2.
We wanted to put in 3 nice raised veg beds. And then also, we'd like to sort out the greenhouse as well, so that's ready to go. So in your little area here, Scott, you've got everything you'll need. You have your veg in there, your herbs, some fruits as well, and it can just become a really active part of the garden.
In one way, you've got no
Okay, thank you.
excuses.
Yeah, probably.
The pitches are over.
Yeah, thank you, that's really lovely.
Cheers.
Wonderful, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
See you later.
And both designers have met the Bavarian brief. Lisa and Scott now have a tricky decision to make.
So did you capture that Oktoberfest?
Well, I think I've got a bit of Oktoberfest in there, but you can never tell, can you?
No. Some hops maybe so they can grow their own beer.
Oh,
That'd be
you've
quite good.
got the hops in. Well, I've got beer barrels that are going to be planted up.
Oh, nice.
Particularly like the beer barrels.
Yeah,
planters
the
as well.
planters are brilliant, they're really cool. I really like about Arit's design that she has this large decking area outside the house and also like a large lawn area.
Did you get the meadow in?
Yeah, we've got some meadow on the outside of the garden, so just to like soften the fringes and like let it blend in. So,
Yeah, I've got natural, and then a few shrubs around there. You've got a few shrubs or small trees.
Got some trees.
Ah,
yeah, got
shouldn't
some
bother to do
trees.
anything.
Yeah.
I really like about this design that it's
Wow.
Vegetables?
to have like the meadow
Yeah, I've got some veg in as well.
Lovely.
Veg pack.
and also the raised vegetable.
You guys?
Yeah, well, yes.
I think they're both really capturing the Bavarian feeling very well, but it's like really tricky which one to go for because they're both kind of conveying it really well, I think.
Sounds like we've done, designed very similar gardens in this
Sounds
case.
very similar. It sounds like we've actually listened to the brief.
The Rich brothers may have 3 raised beds and hop vines, but Arit's got a larger wildlife pond and beer keg planters. It's a tough one to call.
It was a really tough decision. We really liked them both, but
We eventually came to a decision, which was...
Yes, fantastic. Awesome, guys. Thank you very much. So what was it about our design that you liked?
I like that on the side there were like lots of planting, seating area over there, like flowers, and also like
Guys, so can you imagine using it as Oktoberfest?
there were the raised beds and the extras. Yeah, definitely.
We won't be waiting till October to use it.
Well, it's very exciting. Wunderbar. Wunderbar!
Yeah.
The Rich brothers are delighted they've won, but they'll need Arit's help to change this sorrowful space into an area fit for a Bavarian beer fest. It's the morning of the build, and in Chesham, project manager Andy is leading the way. With his team of trusty landscapers, Kyle, Huff and Ben.
We've got a Rich Brothers design here, and it's for Scott and Lisa. Lisa's from Bavaria, so we're trying to bring in some of that German Oktoberfest beer festival kind of thing. So the big hits for us here really are the levels, because we've got all sorts of different things going on. Turn those out, grade it all off, set out the levels in this garden, and we've got a garden and start putting it all back together. Concrete piles all over the place. We've got to get all that there again.
That's cracking. I love a good beer fest.
Oh, yeah, I know. Don't get too excited. Put the beers on ice because we've got a little bit of work to do yet.
All right.
Ready to go?
Yeah. Let's do it.
The team get to work digging up the old heavy concrete paving that runs down the length of the garden. It's a hard slog.
Ah, it's a proper lump. Yeah. Let's do it.
Removing all these slabs by hand could take all day. So Gruff's bringing in reinforcements.
Hang on, I'm after. Excuse me, mate. What's going on? Sorry, I'm busy here. Want to get through, eh? You'll have to wait. Job to do here.
Hey!
The digger with Gruff at the helm makes light work of the concrete. Lucky it's a one-person job concrete. Because the heavens have opened.
Ah, oh, good old Gruff. He don't stop friendly, does he? Look. Meanwhile, I'm squatting in the greenhouse in my new makeshift office, like a little flower pot man.
Hello, girl. Rain stop. Carry on.
With the concrete up, the digger clears the weeds and unruly shrubs to make way for the new features. The brothers were concerned that the step from the house to the garden was too high and impractical, but Andy's made a canny find in the undergrowth that can solve the problem.
And they're really nice, and the boys will go mad for these sort of lovely old textural bricks. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay them with a really nice sort of wide step really outside of the careful as possible with them. Patio doors. Gruff's just digging them out now, trying to be as...
Gruff lifts the turf on the left-hand side of the garden, where the new bound gravel pathways and raised veg beds will go.
Exposing bare soil to rain, it just creates an absolute complete mess. Everything becomes really heavy, dirty. But actually, the positive is that I can actually see it taking shape and how it's going to work now.
Finally, the rain stops, and the mud bath starts to dry up and turn back to soil. With the area cleared and levelled, Andy can consult the Rich Brothers' plan to mark out the main features.
Pergola over there. Lawn here. Wildflower lawn there. Self-vine over there.
35 square metres of hardcore is raked over the left-hand side of the garden. A place for the new veg beds, the base layer, in preparation for the new. Others are using reclaimed gravel boards, newfound gravel pathways, rather than traditional sleepers to get a more rustic look. They're untreated and free from toxins, and Kyle's building them. The landscapers have kept the schedule. Great news, because the designers are on their way. Arrett's on time and keen to get cracking, but the Rich brothers appear to be late.
OMG.
What's happening here? Did you not get the memo? I fear someone looks odd in this group, and it's not us.
What memo? And in fact, maybe I didn't get the memo.
No.
Boys.
What do you mean? We're ready for it. Dig it. Yeah. Well, I know you're probably struggling to make the connection here, but obviously Oktoberfest.
Yes.
Oktoberfest is a big party. I think we've just bought the party.
Brilliant.
So there's three main areas to this garden. We've got the wildlife area, so it's kind of Oktoberfest area, which is mainly kind of replicating an alpine meadow, so the social environment. And we've obviously something like that, so that runs on the right-hand side, but also the produce. They're really keen to get growing. We've got a lovely wildlife pond, we've got some meadow. You're going to be in charge of that, making that look good.
Yeah, lovely. Busy.
Yes, we're very busy today.
No
busy, yeah. And we've got the structures to get in there. We've got the main hall to go in, which will be pretty fun. We'll to that. And obviously lots of seating and things like that.
Yeah.
Carpentry for us. We're all going to be busy, and then maybe at the end of the day, we'll have a beer and relax. Easy. Come on in, follow me.
I can't get over these stuff.
Does it look as good from behind, Darren?
Looking good.
Oh, wow.
Check that out.
Yeah.
Well, look, I've seen the greenhouse. I better get on.
Yeah, you just want to get in the water, don't you? I know your game.
Well, the guys have made a dramatic start. It looks fantastic. The garden looks almost twice as big, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Twice as daunting as well. All that was here before were these as functional as possible by narrow concrete paths. So rounding everything and connecting it all. What we've done with this left-hand side is we've made it self-binding gravel. It makes it really functional, really practical.
Yeah, and within the self-binding gravel, we've got these 3 raised vegetable beds. And the last one actually has a little bench or a potting up station just to make this area very productive and a lovely space to work in. We've got Arrett in the greenhouse now, see if it locks.
You are so mean.
That is, oh my, peace and quiet.
There's no lock on it. And Scott and Lisa have attempted to grow veggies in there, but with Bavarian degrees of success. What's that? That's like a minute in and he's already got one in, isn't he? It's as good as ever going to get from me today.
Exactly, don't do any more.
And that leads us onto the second area here, which is where the gravel extends, but it also extends the lovely seating area, so they can enjoy this area with their friends and family.
And then this area here, then, is going to be where the major socialising happens. This is the Bavarian festival vibe, isn't it?
And then that leads us on to the last section, which is going to be a lovely natural space. Now, Scott wants them into this garden as possible. Loves watching birds, so, and hopefully just pick up a little. The idea is to attract as many.
A bit of that alpine Bavarian landscape as well, hopefully.
Right, let's get on.
While Harry marks out the area for the meadow lawn, David's taken charge of making the pergola for the entertaining space.
Oh, yes.
Take the crown.
So I'll take the crown. I mean, you know, it's a start.
That's great. It looks good on. It looks better on you.
I can't say that I won't, you know, be in the full guard by the end of the day. But yes.
Harry, I'll give you one I am. I'll give you one I am. You'll be in trouble.
That will be trouble.
Hard work standing there watching me work, isn't it? Bit of burglar action.
To bring the Bavarian Beer Festival vibe, the brothers have designed a seating area situated in the sunniest spot at the bottom of the garden.
So we're basically creating a framework on the outside and then putting a few to add to the idea of them having a coat-lap across them. So really cozy outdoor environment for structure. But it's going to be really nice. Oh, lovely.
For the 20 by 20 metre structure, the timber, posts and fixings cost £320.
This part of the garden is really beautiful. You've got lovely rambling rose and honeysuckle growing together. And I think it's this part of the garden that has a lovely romance to it and that we want to keep. So by adding the meadow turf, allowing it to run up to this natural screening at the back of the garden is going to have a lovely finish and a lovely feeling.
When Lisa and Scott bought their new home, they inherited an old greenhouse. But with the garden in such dire straits, they haven't had the energy or know-how to revive it.
This area of the garden the boys are going to use for produce and growing. It needs to be cleared out, and so it's great that the greenhouse is here, one job, but I've been stupid enough, but it's a bit tired, it's down, and I've found in the shed a water butt, and coming off this roof is going to be a load of rainwater, so it's mad not to harvest that water, collect it, and then be able to use it around the garden. Plants prefer rainwater always to tap water, so if you can make sure that you can harvest it, then do it. So I'm going to go and get that water back.
A simple connector kit for a water butt only costs around £5.
Look at that.
See?
Fine looking butt you have there.
Thank you, love. That's what's been said, do you know what I mean?
It may be a limited budget, but the brothers still want to create the feel of an alpine forest, so they've chosen 3 trees for £350 that are commonplace in the Bavarian landscape. An amelanchier, a silverfist,
Get in here, look at that.
a birch and a black pine tree.
Beauty.
And they're tackling the amelanchier first.
That's gorgeous. Nice and wide, isn't it?
Oh, and that's creating a problem for us, isn't it?
Straight away. Ah, not too late though.
Come on. Ah, there we are. Fantastic.
My hat's coming off. My hat's coming off.
We're going to get them through here, boss.
They're placing it in a position where it will have maximum impact.
Look at that. Fantastic. So the whole idea about having a tree right here in the centre of the garden, looking towards the house, is that it's really going to attract the birds into the garden.
It's a gorgeous small tree, and early on it has these lovely red leaves when they come out. It's then followed by a gorgeous blossom, a lovely white flower, which again is going to pick up the start of the season. It's followed by beautiful dark berries, and then in autumn it turns a lovely bronze rusty colour. So for a small space, you're not going to get much better than this.
Next, the silver sparse leaves it will cast a pretty silver birch. It'll be situated in a dappled shadow in the sunshine in front of the pergola. And
Try to get the monster pie then.
I think so.
Yeah.
Might need Dad's help on that one. Strong arm.
You've done well here, boys.
It's a beauty, isn't it?
Oh, well, this bad boy's fab.
Yeah.
Really,
Really gorgeous, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Well, Lisa loved the idea of having that Bavarian character. So we've got the birch, we've got the pine as well. It's amazing how just a single species really portrays that
Yeah.
mood.
Yeah, is that it?
Oops. Right. Oh, Gruff's here now. The strongest man on site.
Oh, Gruff, pretty sure your moustache looks like this, mate.
Look at that. Oh, it's like a twin. Save it for later.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Oh,
Andy, you should have
Andy at the back there, yeah?
to the right slightly. Right, straight.
safely in the garden, they'll be planted
Straight over the dimmer.
later. Now all the trees are safe.
That's lovely, that is.
There's still the main features to finish, including Arit's revamp of the old greenhouse.
Andy, I just need a little bit of your advice. So, look, that's never going to be beautiful. But if we've got anything that on site that I can use to level it off or so they can put some planters on?
We've got a bunch of pallets out there.
If we use pallets, put some of those down, and then at least with some pots, maybe be able to get, I don't know, some sort of string lining.
Yeah.
Okay. Liking
Plan?
it. Place the plans.
Right.
Thank you.
Oh, that's the pergola up. Nice and simple structure. I think it's super effective. Fantastic. Well, there we are. For creating this outdoor room here at the back of the garden. Well, now this is up, Harry can get on doing the table and benches underneath there. It's going to start coming together really nicely. One more structure that I've got to do, and that's the maypole. I'm going to get on with that now. Slowly does it.
Oh, there. Come on, over there. Oh, right.
Do this one, I'll do the other two.
Deal.
Once cut to size, Andy and Arit can put down their new pallet flooring.
When you think of Oktoberfest, I'm sure the first thing that crops to mind is lederhosen. Just allowing people to sit around. But the second thing for me, rather have a nice conversation, is those long wooden tables, plus having a nice beer. So I wanted to create the same thing within this garden. I wanted to have a nice long table positioned under the pergola, somewhere that Scott and Lisa could enjoy the evening, maybe with friends or family. So I'm really looking forward to creating this because I think it's going to be a nice focal point in the garden.
Harry's using treated wooden beams and scaffold planks that are rot resistant for all weathers. To encourage wildlife, the brothers are putting in a simple shallow pond, and they've chosen the perfect spot for it to thrive under shady trees with some direct sunlight.
The team have dug out this area for the wildlife pond. This is the wilder side of the garden, and the boys wanted this to be a centrepiece, and having a wildlife pond is really going to increase biodiversity in the garden. When digging out for a wildlife pond, it doesn't want to be huge depths for those little amphibians and mammals deep, and you do need to make sure that the snails and creatures, to be able to get inside, there are shelves or steps into the pond quite easily.
But first, the team have to build it.
Just getting some sand down. Basically, that is to ensure that no stones come up through the liner, so it just gives a bit more of a softer underbelly to the wildlife pond.
It's a two-person job to get the waterproof liner in place. The weight of the water will mould the shallow pond into shape.
In an ideal world, you'd want your pond to fill up with rainwater or any of the rainwater that you've collected around the garden. But, you know, tap water is fine, but just be prepared to wait a little bit longer for wildlife to come in. Obviously, the chemicals that we have to put in water, like fluoride, need to sort of dissipate out. But the great thing is that within a few weeks, you're going to have damselflies in here, pond skaters, tadpoles, frogs if it's in the season, more biodiversity into the garden. And so, you know, it's going to be a great space, and it's going to attract in a lot.
Oh, then up over nice and slow. That's what that actually looks like on the other. Oh!
Oh, look at that for timing. Little beers in.
Oh, yeah. Just have a sit on the bench.
Exactly, it's looking great.
You have these big beer garden style tables instead of your bistro coffee table. This is really setting the character and the mood for this space.
And what is also nice is that then you can sit here and you're now looking back on the beautiful garden.
Yeah, it's coming along really good.
Different aspect they didn't have before.
Yeah, some climbers up here.
Oh, lovely. Really nice, really nice.
Right, this isn't its orientation, is it?
That way. Oh, okay, right.
I didn't really measure anything, but...
Just have a go.
I'm pretty
sure. Have a go, Harry.
Yeah, look at that. Oh.
Great.
For that rustic charm, the brothers are using 35 square metres of cots, £100. Chippings for their bound gravel. On the wild pathways, at a cost of £3 a side, for £390, Ben lays 25 square metres of wildflower lawn.
Wild turf meadow is fantastic to give instant wildflower in the garden. Growing from seed can take time and is really quite labour intensive. But by bringing it in on mats that go down like regular lawn, it means you can bring in almost 34 species of wildflowers into your garden straight away. What we have here is ragged robin, which you can see, it's so pretty, it's gorgeous. There's going to be oxeye daisies that come through, things like achillea. How lovely a spot for it to be, flanking the pond. It's going to look fantastic.
While David paints his maypole feeder in the traditional Bavarian colours, the team starts to place £500 worth of plants inspired by the alpine landscape.
We have saxifrage, low-lying aquiledias. These London Pride, this is one that would typically be found up high at my favourites. And also some rocky outcrops, nice and dry and exposed to quite bad weather. But here, we don't have that, but what we can do is we can position them on the fronts of the borders, next to this lovely gravelly surface, again, helping to conjure up that feeling. And there's something really beautiful about them, very simple. They're not doing too much, but they really do catch your eye. But hopefully, it's going to link in with the meadow as well and create a gorgeous, natural feeling.
Whoa! Now that isn't the most pleasing sight, is it? But it will be, I promise you. So this is hops, and it's the Fuggles variety. So what that means is it's going to have loads of hops on it. It's very visually pleasing, lovely scent. And also it means that they're going to be able to make some beer out of it if they want to. Now the reason that it looks like this, a little bit sorry for itself, is because it's actually bare root. And all you have to do is you have to soak it thoroughly. That's because of the time of year, certainly, and then plant it into the ground. You order it, it comes like this. It doesn't look like much now, but over the summer and into the autumn, it will put on a lot of growth, and hopefully enough that there's going to be plenty of hops. Scott and Lisa can start brewing their own beer. And I think what's just so nice, again, it really emphasises that Oktoberfest style of the garden. It's going to look lovely and natural. And along with the Trachyspermum that's going on over there, this canopy is going to be beautiful and a lovely place to sit.
Even if the couple decide not to brew, during the summer months, the vines will provide a cascade of pretty yellow flowers.
If you were to go to a public park in Germany, you'd probably find a lot of ornamental grasses, and they normally plant them in a system called drift planting. And that's where you have these large sweeping drifts of one sort of perennial. And usually they're dotted through, creating a lovely bit of connectivity.
Harry's chosen 20 grasses called Carl Forester. That'll be planted in a repeat, the raised pattern throughout the garden. Beds are planted up with peas and beans, with canes added to keep them steady as they grow, and a selection of herbs that include dill, along with gherkins and cucumbers, the ingredients for classic German pickles.
And there we have it, the greenhouse. Been titivated a bit, put some pallets in, was able to use some of the leftover bricks, so there's a little pathway in the middle. And what it means is that Lisa and Scott are not going to feel worried about now going into this greenhouse. It's out here with their produce area. They can grow from seed, they can grow from plugs, but it just gives them the impetus now to be able to get in there and get growing.
That's lush. Oh, they're not. Oh, there we are. That's what it is. It wasn't quite central. Boss?
David is finishing his maypole bird feeder that should charm the birds and please Twitcher Scott.
Always doing something for the birds. Oh, look at you. Yeah?
Hey, maybe.
Look at that. All very nice, though.
that.
That's fabulous.
Little chateau, isn't it?
Absolutely fabulous. Marvellous, my dear. Right, we're on the last page now, aren't we?
I know.
Believe it. It's looking great. Good job.
Almost, eh?
Look. Just the birds. Ready for home.
Nice. There we are. Lovely little bird feeder here.
The Bavarian bunting goes up, along with some fairy lights for evening socialising. German beer glasses are put in place, and the garden is complete. Just a few days ago, this plot was a mass of unkempt lawn, uneven concrete paths, and unruly shrubs. It's now into a Bavarian-inspired, now had a £3,000 garden. Transformation. There's now rustic gravel pathways and a large pergola for entertaining. A long bench table will remind the couple of good times at Oktoberfest in Munich. A new shallow pond is surrounded by a meadow lawn to encourage wildlife, and a maple bird feeder as well as alpine plants and trees reflect the Bavarian landscape. Finally, the tired greenhouse has been cleaned and potted up, along with veg beds to give Lisa and Scott a kickstart to grow their own. Time to reveal the new garden to Lisa and Scott.
Come this way. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, open your eyes.
Oh my god. What is this? Oh
Oh,
god.
that's brilliant. That's great.
It doesn't look like a... Oh my god.
It's quite different, isn't it?
I know.
How different it looks.
Completely.
Well, pond looks
Nice.
A little bit shocked.
Oh, yeah.
Ponds
Yeah.
with the meadow around it there.
Yeah.
Pine tree.
Oh, they really like the pond, and who wouldn't? It looks amazing, and all of the wildflowers when that comes up, it's going to look great.
And then behind there's that pine. That's going to grow quite considerably, but it's an evergreen in the garden. Great for the birds, for nesting in there, for perching in there, also for homes as well.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a great bit of interest for them. So from the wild half of the garden to the working half, got your raised beds here.
Really lovely. Yeah, it's so much bigger than it did before. It's really great. Yeah.
It's very usable now. We've got 3 beds,
Yeah.
plenty of room between them. You can start growing your own vegetables now.
And then one of the main areas about the garden, the working side of the garden, was the greenhouse. So if we can pop and have a look at that. So Arit's been hard at work.
Oh, that's better. It was really...
Yeah, really muddy.
At least they can grow in there now.
Can we have a look at it?
Yeah, into that all-important
Smell the beer.
You can, yeah.
Oktoberfest area.
Yeah.
Dave was on the pergola today.
Yeah. Constructing
nice.
that. Quite nice to sit amongst that, isn't it, underneath?
Yeah, definitely.
And over in that corner, that little nub there, it looks like absolutely nothing. So that's actually hops.
Well, that's really cool.
By autumn time, it'll have loads of hops on it, really decorative. And you'll be able to make a beer with it if you want. Otherwise,
There's
no pressure.
yeah, no pressure if you don't want to. It'll look great.
From the can is a bit easier. So I made you a table and a bench as well.
Very nice.
So I thought it was very fitting for that Oktoberfest.
Definitely.
You've got to have a big wooden table, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah.
So I guess you've just got to set the date now for your beer festival, haven't you?
You should come.
Yeah.
Dress for it as well.
Oh, no, we'll keep these and...
I don't think I'm ever going to take this off.
Very comfortable.
So obviously the maypoles here as well.
Yeah, that's amazing, really. Who painted this?
That was me. Don't
really?
look too closely, no.
I think it looks perfect, looks really good.
Have now packed up and gone.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Cheers.
Not at all.
The team and Scott and Lisa invite friends and family to christen their Oktoberfest garden.
Like an amazing garden, it's absolutely perfect. Wunderbar.
Wunderbar.